Hi friends, welcome back to my kitchen. I have you on a teacup right now. I am still working on figuring out my setup here, so forgive me. But today's video, we are going to practice some hand lettering. I don't know if I should call them drills or strokes, the things that we've been practicing in the last two videos. But today I am going to start doing them freehand in this journal. So if you want to continue to use the practice worksheets that I sent you, you are totally welcome to do that. I would suggest just continuing to use them until you feel comfortable with those strokes. But if you want to do them freehand, then that's what I'm going to do today. So totally your preference, whatever you'd like to do. Grab whatever pen you have or pencil, even if you just have a pencil. If you don't have an ability to print out the printables, just freehand them with us. This is totally fine. It's not about being perfect, it's just about practicing. And so let's go ahead and get started. Let me go ahead and move you over so that you can see my paper, but I am going to be using this notebook here. It is, I believe, a Leuchtturm. So it does have some lines in here. It's a dot grid and it's the soft cover. So this is what I'm going to be using for my practice here. And it's probably just gonna end up full of a bunch of squiggles, and that's totally fine. So you don't need anything fancy, but if you wanna have something contained, it is a really fun way to look back and see how far you've come. I would recommend dating the top of your paper so you can just look back in a few months and hopefully be very surprised with how much progress you've made. All right, I am going to set this out in front of me. I will have this up here just so I can follow along and make sure I'm doing the right ones in the right order. When it comes to practicing with smaller brush pens, you just have to make sure you aren't drawing super huge. You can use a small brush pen to letter really big. That's totally fine, but it's just going to feel a little bit different. So I'm trying to decide if I should go from one box down to, I think I'm just going to stick with one, and I might go, one row of these squares, and I might just go a little bit higher than the top because I don't want to go all the way from the top to the bottom. It just feels a little bit unnatural when I get to lettering that large, and it makes me want to just use a bigger brush pen. And so, yeah, this is not going to be perfect, especially because I'm not tracing. I really enjoy tracing, and I find it to be just, I don't know, really calming when I can just follow along with that line on the page. So do not feel like you need to freehand this at all. But I did think it would be fun as we go through the week to move from the worksheets into a journal or a notebook. And again, you don't have to have a fancy journal or a notebook, but I will just say that if you are using delicate brush pens, it can be hard to use like a really rough textured piece of paper. Not only is it easier for your brush pens to fray sometimes, I sometimes don't like the feel. I really like the feel of a smooth paper, but this one isn't necessarily the smoothest. It's not as smooth as the HP Premium 32, so it's somewhere in between, and I feel comfortable using my brush pens in this notebook. But just keep that in mind if you are trying to protect your brush pens and not wanting them to get frayed. These little brush pens here, these Rytec Sign brush pens, yeah, that's what they're called. These hold up really well. I don't know that I've had any of them fray, and that's pretty much the same for most of the tiny little brush pens like this. The Tombow Fude brush pens, the Pentel Touch brush pen, and there's several more, but they're all pretty similar in that they seem to have a pretty, I don't want to say indestructible tip, I'm sure you can ruin them, but they just seem to hold up a little bit better than a larger, more delicate brush pen. See, I am just going in all directions here, and that's totally fine. So with this next one, the motion is going to be a thick downstroke, a thin upstroke, and then just going back and forth, just kind of like squiggly lines. Squiggly might not be the right word. Zigzag. That's probably more accurate. So I'm not going to count these and make sure I get them exactly the same as they are on the worksheets. I'm just going to go back and forth and kind of eyeball it, because this is not about doing it perfectly. Now, if you are doing this for the first time and you're not on day 3 here with us and you need to go slower than this, that is completely fine. I am a huge fan and a huge encourager to slow down when you're hand lettering. There is no reason to rush. I think sometimes we think that rushing helps us to feel like we have a sense of control. So if you're going really quickly, all of a sudden you might think that your upstrokes aren't as shaky and like that you're in control of that, but it's really not. That's not really having brush pen control. It's just kind of like rushing through a stroke so that your hand doesn't have time to wiggle. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you have good brush pen control. And so I would recommend slowing down, especially if you are still getting the hang of using a brush pen. It might seem silly to go really slow, especially because it might feel harder. But once you start to practice and get more control of your brush pen, I think it's worth it. And then you can go a little bit more quickly. But getting to know your brush pen is actually a huge part of hand lettering. I know it's fun to like look at new brush pens and try a bunch of different ones, but honestly, one of the biggest tips for having good hand lettering is really just to get to know your brush pen, because they're all a little bit different. And even the ones that look similar, with this one I'm doing just kind of a back and forth, up and down, kind of like that. Again, I'm not counting them. I'm just going back and forth. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I was saying even with brush pens that kind of look similar, there are brush pens that look a lot like this one that I'm using here, but that the brush pen tip is a lot more firm and like kind of scratchy feeling. And with those, I've never really used them a lot. A lot of people love them, and they've just never really been for me. And so I've never really gotten the hang of using them, and I've never figured out how to use those brush pens for my specific style. So that's kind of the thing. It's not, can I use the brush pen? It's, can I make my style of hand lettering with that brush pen? And there are some that that's not my preference. And so that's okay. Just get to know the one that you do like. It's not to say that I couldn't spend a lot of time with one of those brush pens and eventually get the look that I'm going for. I probably could. I just don't really like using them. And so don't try to, stress yourself out over making something look right if you just don't enjoy it. That is just probably goes to a lot of things in life. I will say one thing I've done recently, maybe in the last year or two, I really like to read. I like to listen to audiobooks. And I just started quitting them when I didn't like them. And I know that's bad. Like, I used to force myself to finish a book even though I didn't really like it. And I don't know why I did that, because I just, what did I learn? Or I don't know, was it better that I finished it even though I didn't like it most of the time? What I think would happen is then I would just not come back to it, and then I would never finish it, and I would just read a lot less. So now I've kind of given myself permission. I don't quit them immediately. I try. But if I'm a ways into a book and I'm just really not liking it, I just say, this one's not for me. I'll tell you guys which one I did that for. And you can tell me if I'm wrong, because everybody loved this book. It's called Remarkably Bright Creatures, and if you loved it, I am so sorry. Please tell me if I need to pick it back up. I'm just going to start at the top again, just until we run out of time. But if you think I need to pick that book back up again, please do tell me. But I just could not, I don't know, I just didn't understand it. There was a talking, is it octopus in that story? And I know people love it because it's coming out of the movie. So I know it's probably great, and it's probably a me problem. Maybe I started it at just the wrong time. I don't know. It's one that I didn't make myself finish. And so I have enjoyed reading so much more since I took the pressure off myself to finish a book. Now, if you are somebody who just always finishes a book, please forgive me. I know it's probably like making you cringe to hear this, but I just started finishing so many more books when I gave myself permission to do that, because I wasn't just like stalling forever on a book that I wasn't really into. I will say I'm kind of on a reading lull. Had a hard time getting into books this year. I think my brain has just been a little bit full, and I started a new one today, and I have followed it for a while now. I just think, especially with audiobooks, I kind of would put them on, and I would just be thinking about other things, and then I would have no idea what was going on in my book. And so I quit a lot this year that I probably would enjoy, but I just couldn't track with them. So that was, again, a me problem, not a book problem. So anyway, I'm going to stop this here. I might go a couple minutes over 10 minutes today if you include this intro, because I can see my camera is hitting 10 minutes right now. So I will get going. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow. And also let me know if I should start that book again. Okay, bye.